People who want to be in this industry, I think it's super, super, super really important to do the in-person. If there is a show, go, go. That's where you learn the techniques. That's where you see the products up close. That's where you make connections with people.
Hello, I'm Tammy Hahnemann, a maker, digital content creator, someone who works in many different mediums with a true passion for helping others find their creative spark. I also really love to connect others who have something to share with those who want to learn. Welcome to Heart and Hands of a Maker, the creative journey. If you found us, chances are you're on a quest for creative inspiration. Maybe you're feeling stuck in an artistic rut, dreaming of turning your passion into a flourishing business, or maybe you're hoping to see your work in print or grow your online presence. Well, my friend, wherever you are on your creative journey, you're in the right place. Let's get to it. Today, we're talking with Milagros Rivera, a mixed media artist living in Puerto Rico. We'll be discussing her creative journey, explore her business evolution, and hear what she's working on next. It's time to grab your favorite beverage, settle into your creative space, and meet Milagros. Milagros, I am so excited to have you here on the show today. Thank you so much for making the time and for being here. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Tamara. I'm so excited to be able to do this with you because you are somebody that I admire and appreciate. And, thank you so much for the invitation.
Oh my goodness, it's my pleasure. I was so glad you were able to make the time and you were interested in being a part of our little world over here. It's always a joy to come across you at a show demonstrating. I mean, that's truly where we have connected in the past, and to now have you here as a part of our show and to know that our relationship will continue, I couldn't be happier. So you have a wealth of knowledge and experience to share, and I thought for sure you would be a guest that could help our listeners, who I know are also on a creative exploration or journey wherever they are in their path, as well as might have interest in business. And you've done all of that. So I would love for you to share a bit about yourself, a bit about where you are. So just please take it away, and we'll let the conversation unfold from there.
Awesome. So I live in Puerto Rico, and I live very on the east side, very far away from my family. So my husband opened his business, and when my daughter was born, I said, I think I don't have anybody to take care of her. I don't want to leave her in strangers' hands. I got to do something where we can be together. And so she was raised in this store. I opened the store in 2006. And you know how the evolution of the scrapbook world has gone, all over the spectrum. I've done many things. And then when it's shifted to mixed media, that's where I got, oh my God, this is my niche because I can do so many things. And so it's been crazy things happening one after the other. And then I did a lot of jewelry for a while, and then I did a lot of art journaling. And I think I've been stuck in art journaling, not because I cannot do it anymore, but because it's like probably what grabbed me the most. I was going to tell you about Hurricane Maria in 2017, and how, like, very last minute, before knowing how it was going to be almost a category 6 hurricane, I grabbed my journal and I grabbed my watercolors, and then it ended up having my store closing from September to January because there was no electricity. I'm on the east side of the island, and we greet the hurricanes. They come from Africa into the Caribbean. And so when the pandemic hit and our governor said, we're shutting you down, I said, oh my God, I have the remedy. I know what I'm going to do. I had bought an Archon mount on that show in Arizona in January. And I said, okay, I am going to do lives. The first one was one item that Tim Holtz had created that January. And so I made a box alert and I opened this box. And this is before people were doing lives. This is me with a crazy idea. I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is the new item, and I'm going to show you how to use it. So it wasn't only opening a box, but it was also giving a tutorial. And so when March came and we were locked down, I was already comfortable with the camera. And I said, I am going to bring my journal and bring my paints, and I'm going to teach everybody some mental health, because I think that's what journaling does. It's your own space. It's where you can create and you can shut it down. It's private. If you want to share it with the world, you can. But if you want to keep it to yourself, it's your own prerogative. So I started doing lives every single day. I never spent a day in pajamas. I always got dressed. I was like the novela. I don't know if you know what novelas are for Latins, but it's like people watch these things every day. So I was the novela of the 10 a.m. and I would be online from 10 to 11 from Monday through Saturday. And then I would spend like 2 hours answering questions, and then it started like a fireball. It kept moving to people who were Puerto Rican and were living in the States. And oh my gosh. And then people wanted to buy stuff, and I was like, what am I gonna do, because I cannot go to the store? What am I gonna do? And one day I said, everybody has coffee. Puerto Rican coffee, it's a big thing. So I said, you know what, everybody has coffee, and today I'm brewing my coffee, I'm bringing it here, and I'm dumping my paintbrush in there, and you all are going to paint with coffee. So it by the third month, I was already receiving stuff in my house and shipping stuff from my house, because people wanted to buy, and I wanted to keep my business, because even though it was a lockdown, we still had to pay rent, we still had to pay utilities. And I know of friends who had to close their business because they couldn't afford the payments, and maybe they were afraid to put themselves out there in front of a camera, like I was, crazy doing. Yeah, it was like, well, I did. Can you imagine 6 days a week for
No,
more than 3 months?
that's a lot.
Like, what do you create every day? So I think if you are in business, or if you want to go into a business, I was thinking that maybe the conversation would turn into this. And I thought a word and I didn't write it down, but you 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 have to be able to adapt. You have to be a chameleon if you want to stay in business, especially Tamara, because it's sad how this store used to be full with people, and now I ship all the time. And when I do classes, I have to do them with my tripod, and I do them. I want people to come because we are, you know, social people. We want to hug each other, and we want to see each other, and we want to like scream and have fun, and this is all happening like we're doing it now. It's this connection that, well, like sometimes I have to keep doing it virtually and in person, because I have people from the States that just after pandemic decided that I was a thing. And so I sell stuff and I sell classes to people outside of Puerto Rico. And so we connect through here. But I think it's never the same as being in person and doing stuff. I try my best to put it out there, but it's like, if you're going to open a creative business, and even not a creative business, because my husband's a veterinarian, and he was the only one who was taking one owner inside the exam room. All the other veterinarians would pick the animals outside, and he shifted, and so everybody wanted to come see him because they could talk to the doctor. The other thing that he did different was he started doing appointments so that there weren't a lot of people at the same time. So it's if you want to make a business, you have to be able to adapt to the situations that are happening, and decide, or decide not to do it. It's however you want. But if you want to do it, I think that's the way to do it. I think that's the way that I've been able to succeed, being here for so long.
Well, and you've gone through so much. I mean, you had the pandemic, which really impacted a lot of people's businesses. You had
Mhm,
the hurricane. And I
mhm,
remember when you were going through the hurricane, you were receiving donations from people from whomever would be able to send you things. I know I had a hard time actually shipping to you because I put together batteries and energy bars and things that you were asking for. So I know you received things and you just have such a good heart and you do and you give. And the fact that you took the time to do it and serve people however you could manage, it was also not only a good thing for you personally, because I'm
mhm.
sure it gave you an outlet and it helped you connect to people even though you couldn't be in person, but you helped
Yeah.
others who were in a similar situation.
Oh,
I'm
oh
sure
my
of it.
goodness. I mean, one time the U.S. mail, the guy, the our postal guy said the whole truck is for you.
Oh,
And it was like I put because I couldn't open here because I had no power in the store, but in the clinic we put everything there. And it was like everybody who would come from the smaller islands would say, okay, what do you need? We have all the supplies. So it was like everybody that came in with their dogs left with, I mean, even our supplies that people send stamps, people send stencils, people send everything because in a time of need, everything can help.
hmm. Well, and
And
I agree. I think the creative nature of our lives, like for you and me, where we don't make to make anybody else happy, but just to help ourselves have some peace or some quiet or whatever it is that we're trying to do. And then by nature of who you are, you share and you give. And I think that that is so telling of your being and your person and your light and your energy. It is a gift and you continue to give and give and give. And it's no wonder to me how much you served your community and your country. And even those in the States who were leaning into you during that time. Amazing. And obviously your husband is also a very giving and kind person and also adaptive. You know, he changed his business model to serve the people, which then in turn made it even better for his business, which
Mhm.
so I agree with you. I think being adaptive is really important to success, but also being willing to fail. I mean, you could have had to close your doors. You could have had to, not had your beautiful place to come back to after everything, and you were still willing to serve and do and create and give, and it's amazing. You're an amazing human. I'm so glad to know you. Oh my goodness. So, how is your daughter? How is she doing?
she she got depressed during pandemic because imagine a teenager on these circumstances. So I found for her one of those ads that you have, like the algorithm of Facebook. They I got a sailing camp, and I said, I know, say, I know the sea heals. And
Mhm.
we're surrounded by water. And I thought that I was going to drive all the way to San Juan because, I mean, how could a cool thing be nearby? Well, turns out it was nearby. So I take her, and she's like reluctant to go. She didn't want to go. And I pushed her, and I said, it's only half a day. I am going to drop you and come back and see you. That's it. There's no discussion. And so when I came back to pick her up at noon that time, she was another person. I could see a smile I hadn't seen in months.
Oh,
And so she has been very successful, and turns out it was a talent that she didn't know she had. So she's gone to represent Puerto Rico, she's gone to Netherlands, she's gone to Chile, she's gone to Miami. And see, how pushing yourself outside your boundaries, outside your comfort zone, can do something for you.
yes,
So
truly, truly.
it's
You have to be willing
lessons.
to fail. You have to be willing to, I always say, fall flat on your face, because it could be the complete opposite and you could find something you didn't even know you had in you. Oh, that's wonderful.
Exactly.
Good
You
for
know,
her.
when I opened the store, I started receiving magazines to sell, and it was like, wow, I want to be there. I want to be in print sometime. And one of the things, because I know this is something that we wanted to talk, because maybe somebody who's listening would
Hmm.
like to have their work published. And I remember I am in this tiny island, and I have these two kids that they were like 2 and 9 at the time. That's their age difference. And I said, I want to get published because I want them to not be limited. I want them to know that even though they're living in this tiny island, if their work is unique, they're going to be recognized. So here I go. And I got published in all the things that I wanted to be published. And my recommendation for that is to have your own thing, to be unique. Like if you do something, don't look up what other people are doing. You are somebody else. You have your own thing to put out there in the world, and that's how you're going to get published, by not copying anybody and doing your own thing. Whenever you do something original, people will recognize that this is something they haven't seen. It doesn't matter. When I think I got in one, I think it was Jewelry Affair that I had a project that got published, and it was in resin. I did this while I was locked out of the store. I was working with upcycling stuff, and I did this necklace that spoke. I wanted to use these words to empower whoever saw me wearing it. So I did this on the clear. They would like disappear. And I remember I was using stuff that for somebody else would be trash, and I was making it into molds and pouring that and putting bright colors, and it got published because it had something to say. It had been done in a unique way. So that's my recommendation. Do something that is uniquely you.
And it's a scary place, especially if you're just starting out, but yet you have these aspirations. So I feel that that's your ultimate goal, is to do something different and then learn from somebody like you who will try something different and practice that, and then start to integrate your own voice and figure out exactly how does the resin work for you, or how do bright colors, or do you like more muted colors. Like, you have to kind of figure out what your vibe is, and then start following your own path with what you've learned from experts like yourself who have gone before you. Um, and then also, like, what would your recommendation be on, like, making contacts with people? Because that's also something. Here you are in Puerto Rico, and yet you were able to, you have the magazines in your store, so you have the information. But what gives you the strength and the willingness to take a risk and try and send your manuscript in, or send a picture in?
Well, actually, my table right now has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 14 nutcrackers.
Oh,
That's what I'm working on. And here's one. I'm showing you one, and
I
it's
love it.
like really Puerto Rican. See, this is Old San Juan,
Oh, yes.
and it's got like these crazy cobblestones that I made with clay. Um, I've been making nutcrackers. Well, I started buying my first nutcracker when my son was born because I thought that it was like a manly thing. So if I had a boy, I needed to decorate my house with something that, well, nutcrackers represent protection in Germany. And that's what I wanted. I wanted something that would be masculine and would have a good meaning. And when the store was open, like 6 years into the store, a friend of mine finds this blank. It's a toy. It has um this
Oh,
child's
mm-hmm.
play. It comes fully blank, and it's got this paintbrush, and she says, look what I found. I bought one for you and one for me so we can do something. And so we started doing these nutcrackers. So it was like our yearly tradition to do a nutcracker. And I've done it with Dresden, with paper, with paint. I did it with Tim Holtz, the embossing powder that I told you that I did my first ever live. And and this year I stopped submitting, and I said, I haven't submitted for a while because of all the things that have been happening, and I want to I think I actually did a Puerto Rican nutcracker, and I said, I think people would like to see this. I'm going to put this out for Christmas. And I sent this tiny nutcracker with this tiny snow globe that I make tiny paper houses inside. Turns out the editor wrote me, and she's like, "Oh my God, I want to publish this." So I think it's a matter of putting yourself out there, knowing that maybe it won't get picked, and that's fine. You tried. You tried, but what if it gets picked? I do something with trash. Since I started doing all these packaging, I started getting the tape rolls empty, and I said, we produce so much trash. What if I did something inside this, and I started creating tiny Christmas scenes inside, and I would save like 8 rolls. I would put them out, and my trash got published because I put it on my Instagram, and I said, this is an upcycle. I want you to be conscious and use what you have. It's a cool ornament. It costs you nothing, just a little bit of your time. And I remember seeing, like, the first time I did something like that, I put all the 8 pieces together. I never used glue gun because it's like not my thing, but I couldn't make them stick. So I said, okay, I'm going to glue them all together and put them outside, like pull coming out of a shadow box, and I'm going to put lights into them. It was the post that got the most likes ever on my hacked Instagram because they hacked me. But on the original Instagram, that was the post that had the most like. And every year I would do it, and I said, well, I'm going to send my trash because I think,
I'm
people,
gonna send my trash.
yeah, people truly like it. And actually, I have a new project for next year that I am
Already?
going to submit. Yeah. Well, one of my clients said, "Oh, I have this tin for you. You know how ham tins are like a weird shape?" So
Yes.
she brought that ham tin, and she said, "I think you can make something out of this." And I said, okay, we'll leave it there. My husband comes in. He sometimes has to have lunch with me. And he's like, why you have trash on the top of your table? I said, it's not going to be trash. in the future. So I have it there for inspiration.
Well, I did get a chance to see your ornaments. I think they are just gorgeous. I hope we will have all the information on where you can find these beautiful projects from Milagros in the show notes on the site. But these were published in Somerset Studio. Is that correct?
For the
Yes,
holiday. Yeah. Hmm.
for the holidays. Amazing. I fell in love with the ornament before I knew it was yours. I was flipping through. I was on a call and I was on, like, we were had a break on the call and I was just kind of looking through quickly and I was like, oh my gosh, these ornaments are beautiful. And then I saw they were yours and I'm like, of course they're yours. And of course they're trash. Of course
But they're
they're
trash. Yeah.
I love it. Well, and I think it's funny you mentioned your husband looking at all the things. Like, you would think by now he's figured it out. Like, don't even
Yeah,
ask.
yeah, right, right.
Why are you even asking me?
We've been married forever. Next year is going to be our 30th anniversary. So,
Oh,
you know,
congratulations.
he should know by now. He's got this crazy wife with ideas that
Well,
I did one nutcracker. And so far I finished and sent 35 from the one crazy Puerto Rican one I made. And I told him, I'm a nutcracker collector, and I realized that we don't have a Puerto Rican nutcracker, so I'm gonna make one. And so I did, and I've done 35, and there's like, I don't know how many in my table again.
Wow, wonderful. Isn't that amazing? You're amazing. You are amazing. And again, you're just following the clues that are there. So you have to be kind of in tune. Because I know the other piece of where you draw inspiration from is the island, and not just because of the trash that you collect on the island. You actually live in a very beautiful place, even with all of the devastation that I know you've suffered through. You live in a beautiful place surrounded by water, and you have made it very clear you draw inspiration from around you. Not everybody, especially me, doesn't get the chance to live near the ocean. So I'm wondering, what do you recommend? Because you say you're leaving the ham can out for inspiration. So you're going to like see kind of what comes from it. And the nutcracker, you said, oh, I'm going to make him a Puerto Rican nutcracker because we don't have one. What gives you the I don't want to say strength. What gives you the drive to pursue something like that? And it could just not work out. Like, and
Well, I think my favorite question. This is my favorite question of all times. What if? What if I try this and I fail? What if I try this and it's a success?
mhm.
That's the best question you can put out, you can put out there in the universe. This is, I have this friend who is, her name is Marlene, and she has this, this line called Art by Marlene. She is from Netherlands, and we know each other. We met in shows, and this is her fourth year creating an advent calendar, and this is her first time doing a daily workout. I've been doing it the 4 years she's done it. I said, well, if people are going to invest, and I think the fun thing about an advent calendar is to open every day something and find, I I think I'm crazy in a way that I don't prepare what, like, people, how can I say this, Tamara? I I'm a spur of the moment person. So if you give me pens and give me pencils and give me something, I am going to create with what you give me, because it's like a Food Network challenge.
Yeah.
Like a chop challenge. You open your basket and this is what you get. So I started doing these advent calendars, like, okay, I am going to make this 25 days. We're going to be together every single day until the advent calendar is finished. It doesn't matter if it's Sunday. I pre-record Christmas. The 24 days I'm live. And it's it's something that to me it's fun, like, what I'm going to do. So I've been doing all these. I'm keeping a 4x4 journal. This is what I'm doing every day. So I'm going to show you. I don't know if people will be able to see this, but
Yeah.
this one and this one.
Mm.
This was to me happening at the moment because I am a watercolorist at heart, and I was working with acrylics. To me, it was like an epic failure. I was failing, and here's the quote I used: "Making mistakes is better than faking perfection." It has the most likes out of all the things I've done. Marlene shared it. I said, I am putting it out there. I made a lot of bloopers. Come see me making mistakes. It's right now, I don't know how, because if I fail and if I recognize what I'm doing wrong, and I'm teaching because I'm doing this live, and I say, oh, this is totally wrong. This is not mixing up. This is but we're gonna try again. And in the end, it's a beautiful result because I persevere
Hmm.
and I find a way to turn it around. So I think you have to not be afraid. Even if the mistake happens and it happens live, you can still fix it.
And I think that's the beauty of mixed media for me. I feel like because you can keep going. It's never really done until you decide it's done. And so if you
Hmm.
get to the middle and it looks terrible, we'll just keep going. And
Uh-huh.
I think that's the piece of mixed media that I've always appreciated, because I'm not classically trained. I don't have an art background. I always say, like, I'm a hack. I just jump into something. I want to do it. I buy the supplies, I make something, and then it looks terrible, or I can't emulate what you're doing. But then if you just keep going, one, you start to integrate your own voice, you start to integrate things that you're trying that you didn't know how to use, and it works. And that to me is what mixed media has allowed me to do as for expression. And I think that you are empowering people to realize that it's really okay, just keep going.
Yeah, yeah. It may look horrible, but you keep at it and it'll work. It'll work out. It's
Well, and at
I
the end
I
of the day, it's just paper and ink. Like, it's not
exactly.
a lot of invested resources. It's just
It's
paper
I
and pen.
think it's fun
Hmm.
to you have to see it as a fun time for you to explore and experiment, and I'm doing this live. I don't know what I'm going to find. I do a different technique every day. It I never pre-think what I'm going to teach tomorrow because I don't know what the stencil's gonna be, because this year it's all stencils. So
Wonderful.
it's like, okay, what I'm going to do. This one with the birds, I open my phone and show them a sunset, and we painted from that sunset. And yeah, I know I'm in this island. Sometimes this island is gray, but there's beauty even in the gray.
Hmm.
I had this customer come and ask me for she was cancer free, and she came to the store and she said, Milagros, I need you to prepare me a card for my doctor to thank her for all this time that she's dedicated to me, and I'm so thankful that I'm cancer free. And I hugged her because she's an old lady who's been coming here for as many years as I've been open, and she always comes like she's one of those persons that wants to give a detail for like a card or a present, one of those really grateful persons. And I said, don't worry, Olga, I am going to do something for you that is going to be meaningful. but it's not going to be a card. I promise you it's not good. But she's like, but I'm asking for a card. And I said, no, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I will make you something that your doctor is going to appreciate. So we were actually like an hour and a half ago crying because she came to pick it yesterday and she gave it to the doctor today and she wanted me to know the reaction of the doctor. Well, turns out I for my fun, what I do is I paddleboard. I'm really close to the water, so I do paddle boarding, and that's my zen. And sometimes I do lives so people can see the sunrise because I'm in the east, and so I'm blessed with sunrises. But I've been doing all these nutcrackers because I had all these orders. So I've been coming to work because my husband has a part-time secretary, so I have to close the store and go work at the clinic. And so I've been like here coming at night and leaving at dark, and so I haven't been able to see my sunrises, and so I'm coming back home and it's late and I see this ray in between the clouds like going towards the mountains, and I said, that's what I'm doing for Olga. It's a ray of hope. That's what the doctor represents to her, and probably what the doctor represents to everybody that comes into her office. And I took a picture so I wouldn't forget, how it was like how the ray was penetrating the clouds, and it was like a haze. Oh my God, it was beautiful. It was cloudy, it was gray, but it was like in between all of that, there was this spark of hope. And so that's what I painted her.
Beautiful.
So,
You're going to make me
I,
cry. That's
well,
so
I think,
beautiful.
you have to look outside and see things from a different perspective. I'm very positive.
Yes.
and
That
and I
helps.
see I see life. I never see a half glass.
Yeah.
And
Well, and I
and
think though, because not everybody is positive. So the fact that you have been going live and that you're sharing so much helps people who aren't as positive see things differently. And I think that is the true message, is that you just see things differently and you have a way of translating them into your art. And that is a gift. And you've been offering that gift to so many people. I mean, you're so amazingly generous.
you know that you never know who is your audience. So this is one that I was doing a few days ago, and it says, let your faith be bigger than your fears.
Mm.
And I had this person on my life say, that's what I needed, because she's going through cancer. And so today, the one message that I put out there is, I did it for her. She doesn't know, but I did it for her. It says, your body hears everything your mind says. Stay positive. I am giving her some clues
Mhm.
because she wrote me today after the live, and she said, I was hospitalized, and what kept me going was that I was watching you every morning from my bed, and you were a spark. So you never know who is listening and who you can give some hope and some faith in your journey.
No, and
So
that's generous,
it's a
so
way to
generous of
carry
you.
on.
Yep. Amazing.
And
Amazing.
it's all free, and anybody who wants to join and watch is welcome. And I do it during Advent. I do it every single day.
Amazing. Where are you doing your lives from? From Facebook or Instagram?
From Facebook, yeah, I
From
have.
Facebook.
Sometimes I do some Instagram, but it's like, I have a lot of people who are older and are not Instagram. They don't have Instagram, but they have Facebook. So what I do is I do it on Facebook. I have my stores group is Paper Boutique Scrapbooking Studio. And I'll share the group so you can share the link. I'll put it on
Perfect.
Messenger, and that way people can come and and hang out early in the morning while they're drinking their coffee and getting ready for work and get some inspiration for the day. Because today's day 13, there's still like
Still
12
2
more
weeks to go
days.
almost. Yeah, almost 2
Uh-huh.
weeks left. Wow.
Hmm.
Let me ask you this, because as I'm going through, I at one point laid out all of my paints and papers and was journaling, and then the table space that I had needed to be then moved over and changed to jewelry because I was doing a live for work. And how do you manage all of the materials and supplies so that you can stay inspired without tripping over everything?
I
Or
should
maybe
flip
having to cook dinner or something.
I should flip the camera and show you how crazy this is right now. I mean, you would probably not believe this. I have right now on my right all the paints from Marlene for my daily lives. The tin that hides the advent envelopes, it's in front of me. Like I can't reach it, but it's there. The nutcrackers are all here, and in between, yesterday I had a bride come by the store and said that she needed to I don't she needed to some wax seals for her invitations, but she doesn't have the equipment, she has no idea how to make it, blah blah, and it's expensive for six envelopes. And I said, oh my gosh, six, I'm gonna make them for you right now. So in between all of that, I even have this.
Well, that is how I roll. But I know it's not easy. And you have a store, so you can just throw up another table probably and move one thing over and make room for it. But what about for people who are at home? Like, what would you recommend? They set up like a little station so that they can stay. Because okay, maybe just tell me because I because
I think for every maker, let's talk about my family. When I was growing up, my mother would do everything. She would do ceramics. She had an oven where she would actually do her ceramic pieces. And my father was a um the word in Spanish is hojalatero. In English, he would, I don't know what's the word in English. He would, if you were in a collision and your car was trashed, you would take it to somebody to fix it, and he would solder and paint and buffer. And that's what my dad did. So he was the one that had the artist. I think I inherited the being able to draw from him because he was an artist. But my mom, she she was not a seamstress by trade. That's what my grandmother was. But she would sew, like you would turn the garments inside out and you would wear them like high fashion. And I remember one time my mother was making me a dress. I was going to be a star. And it was like silver lame, and it had rhinestones coming down, and they were in a cuff here. And I was actually going to have a wire star that was soldered by my father. And it was like I would, put it as a headband. And I was 6 years old, and I remember it was good. The first time I was going to be on stage, and I was like, I was the brightest star. I'm not kidding.
you were magnificent, I have no doubt.
And my dad, my mom is giving instructions, and my dad is doing the soldering. And then she did mosaics, and she did stained glass. And
Oh.
when I got married, she did the flowers, she did the dress. She asked my brother to solder my crown. I mean, so I come from this background where everybody in the house did everything. So don't try to confine me into one thing. My sewing machine is there on the floor. I use it. My daughter, turns out she also has the sewing talent. during pandemic, I brought one of the things that I brought from the store was my sewing machine. And one time I wake up in the morning and she had done a bucket hat. This girl who hasn't shown any interest in crafting, she did a bucket hat and it was beautiful. And then she did the mask that would match her bucket hat. Because I was doing mask
Mhm.
for in the very beginning the clinic had to be open and we couldn't find mask,
No.
and so I was making mask for my staff at the clinic, and so I can, I have the store and I have stuff all over. But when pandemic that I brought, my husband says, "Why don't you craft home?" And I said, "Because I'm going to start going nuts. Because if I want to use something and it's in the store, I'm going to scream."
Mhm.
So I started bringing supplies to for my daily life, and I started working out of the dining room table. Tamara, by the end of the pandemic, there was no place to eat or drink in our dining room table. There was no room. So I'm not the best qualified person because
No,
I'm
you're.
not I'm not organized and I have to do all the things.
I love it. I love it. I guess because part of me is the same. I have got all of the things all over the place, and I'm constantly trying to organize because my husband is fairly linear. He's an
Uh-huh.
artist by nature, but he's very linear. He's very corporate, and so
Well,
when
I really admire people who know exactly where everything is.
yes,
Me,
no,
you know how many times I've opened stuff in the store because I can find what I need to use when I want to use it. I say, I don't care. I open another pack. Forget it. It's easier
it'll save you 3 hours.
of finding something. And I
Right.
cannot let anybody like kind of come and organize me because then I go crazy.
You can't find anything. Nope. Nope. My husband will walk in if I'm like in the middle. In fact, just yesterday I had to change my office around. So I had to put everything that was on the table into a box so I could, still have access to it. And
Uh-huh.
I knew where everything was. And he was like, "Oh my gosh, thank goodness you finally cleaned up." I'm like, "Oh, this is temporary. This is all coming back out of the box. I know where everything is. I know where everything needs to be." And he's not about it. He was like, "Oh, I can breathe in here again." And I'm like, "Oh no, 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 no.
It's
It's
temporary.
temporary." Well, and I know, because in at work, some of the things that people would be looking to us for was help in figuring out like how to solder, how to make jewelry in on a tray table in their living room because their husband won't let them have the dining room table. So I was hoping maybe you had a little few tricks up your sleeve, but it seems like you and I are in the same boat. We can't help anybody. Sorry.
No, you know what happened? My dining room table is actually his grandparents' dining room table.
Oh.
So it's this mahogany, beautiful piece. And you know what happened during pandemic? I'm a mess sometimes because I'm like, my brain is working like I have so many ideas and I want to implement them all at the same time. And I was working with Dilutions ink. It was a turquoise. And I don't spray or make proper use of inks. I open them up, I stick my paintbrush in them, I swipe, and I didn't turn it, I didn't close it because I moved to the next thing. So I am a very expressive person, so I talk with my hands. I think it's probably a Latin thing. So I move the hands while I'm explaining something. Boom goes the ink. But I don't realize that happened. I don't know that it happened. So at the end of the day, I am like clearing for the next day and I see the ink had been soaked into the wood. What am I
Oopsie.
going to do? Because this is an heirloom, and I don't know how to. I started asking like all my audience. I need recommendations from whoever knows how to clean this, and there was like, it was like no remedy,
Nothing.
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 Well, I turns out that the years passed, and he made a comment that was nasty of him. And I got so mad that I said, I am going to fix it. So if you have my problem, I have the solution.
Okay.
Magic eraser.
It worked?
It worked. It took 3 sponges, all the sides. I worked all the sides, but I sat down on that table and I scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed and scrubbed, and I cleaned it. It absorbed the ink back. So if you have the problem, that's the solution.
The magic
Elbow
eraser.
grease with a magic eraser. And it soaked all the ink from mahogany.
Taken.
I know. I was like, I told him, I said, I'm so absolutely sorry.
You felt terrible.
I felt so bad, so absolutely bad. But I asked, and nobody had a recommendation for me. And I didn't want to put. I'm thankful that I didn't put any sandpaper to it, because sandpaper was not going to grab anything. It would probably ruin it more. So, magic eraser.
Magic eraser to the rescue. Oh my goodness. So you're being published. You have beautiful projects. As I said, I saw them already in print. Congratulations. I'm glad that you're back and contributing. You have a ham container that you're going to make into something. You're going to manifest that into something and submit that for publication. What else do you have going on aside from all the people dropping in and asking you to create beautiful, amazing art for them? What else is going on?
Well, there's this thing that I realized during pandemic, was that a lot of Puerto Ricans had no idea about things that were part of our culture. So I started making stamps that would reflect their passion, because not everybody's able to draw. I've been doing stamps that I have manufactured in the U.S. For me, and they're local, so I'm not selling them in any online stores or anything, because it's like I've decided that I'm going to be a Puerto Rican artist. And I know that I may be limiting myself in that way, but when I did, one of my art journal pages was this masked woman, because I was, during pandemic, I was doing that. And turns out that when I made the stamp and I put it on my Instagram, I sent my stamp to Finland and Netherlands and Spain and the States, because nobody had a stamp of a masked woman. So that's what I'm doing. I was during a trip that I did with my mom this November. I had finished and given the nutcrackers out to their owners, and I sat down on the plane with my journal that I always carry, and I drew from memory the nutcracker, and I said, I am making the nutcracker available to everybody, the Puerto Rican nutcracker. So it'll be a stamp.
Oh,
It'll
beautiful.
have all the casitas, all the old San Juan colonial architecture.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I don't think you're limiting yourself. I think you're just adding to the layers of all the things that already encompass your amazing being. I think that's wonderful. And you're bringing a culture forward into the next generation through your art. I think that's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's wonderful. That's wonderful. All right. And so will you be traveling? Are you able to get out and do things? And
Well, I will be at the. I want to go to, and I already bought the plane tickets to the show in Germany, and I will be at Creativation, the next one in New Orleans.
we will definitely have to connect in person, other than
Well,
just in coming to the
for
booth wherever
for
you're demoing.
people who want to be in this industry, I think it's super, super, super really important to do the in person. If there is a show, go, go. That's where you learn the techniques, that's where you see the products up close, that's where you make connections with people. It's really important.
And that gets back to the beginning of when you were saying that people are more inclined to listen to you live versus coming into the store. And I do think that it is a piece that's missing that the pandemic took from us that I don't know that everybody realizes would bring them joy, because
Mm-hmm.
there is so much value in being in person that we lost sight of, I feel.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. I do hope people do start coming more to the shows and maybe coming more to your store and learning in person and letting them empower you directly. But meanwhile, you still serve everybody and do so much live. It's amazing. Such a gift. Such a gift. All right. So thank you. Thank you so much, Milagros. I really so appreciate you making the time on top of everything else that you have going on. You made the time to talk with us and share so much of your history and background and experience and advice that we can all take to heart and implement immediately in all that we're doing, and then just grow from by listening to your words and remembering them and putting them close to our heart and really empowering our hands to do the magic. Thank you. Thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for
Oh,
inviting me.
oh, it's my pleasure. And I'm so glad to have spent this time with you. And I know everybody will really appreciate being able to have a little piece of you in their day. So thank you again.
Me too.
That's a wrap on another episode of Heart and Hands of a Maker. It's been so wonderful sharing this time with you. Thank you for tuning in. And if you want more, be sure to head over to tamarahahnemann.com/podcast for all the show notes and information. Thank you, Milagros.